Drum roll. Are you ready? We have officially learned about everything we need to know to get started with actually working with files. Up to this point, we've learned about some of the most useful features in the OS module and the pathlib module to work with files themselves, to move them, maybe to, well, not really to move them, but to find them and navigate around the directory structure. We're actually going to learn about moving them in the next few videos, but not yet. We'll get there. We'll get there. But we're getting there. We're learning about how to navigate around your files on your machine. It's actually a complex thing. There's quite a few pieces to it, right? And you're seeing that now. But we know how to generally navigate around, how to create paths, and now we're going to learn how to read the files once you find them, and how you can write to them. Now this piece is exceptionally useful because we're going to learn about saving data. It's so useful because now your Python program can save things and recall it later. And in the next video, actually, I'm going to show you a special module that allows you to save variables themselves without having to recreate the wheel. But first, let's learn about reading and writing files in general, because this is also very useful. Now, the functions that we're about to cover apply to writing plain text files. Plain text files are things that consist of basic characters. They don't include things like telling you about what font size it is and the color of the text. None of that's there. You're thinking of, if you think of that, that's more of like a Word document or a PDF. And if you ever try to edit one of those things and actually see what's inside the file, it's binary code. And it's just a bunch of random characters. You can't make sense of it. You need a special program to read binary code. It turns out I'm going to show you how to read binary code in the next video. But for now, again, let's focus on the basics of reading and writing files because it's super useful and you'll need it pretty often. So there's many ways that you can read and write to a file in Python, and I want to cover the most common approaches. You can call the open function to return a file object and call read on or write on that file object. So again, we're working with classes, right? We're going to create a file object, an instance of the file class, and call read or write on it. Those are instance methods. Close the file at the end by calling close. It's that close instance method on the file object. And then I really want to show you how to use the with statement. We haven't used that yet, but it makes it really nice because then you don't have to call the close method. So let's see what that looks like. By default, notice we don't need to import anything. This is stuff that's built right in the Python. So very nice. If you want to open a file, I'm going to create a variable called note_file. So it's my note file. And I want to open a file named notes.txt. Now, remember, before when we were working with the OS module and when we were working with the pathlib module, you can use ways to figure out where are you currently, your current working directory, right? This idea of where the script is currently running, where the script was placed when it was ran. Well, if you call open, it defaults to that directory. So you don't have to describe where you already are. You can actually just type out the names of the files next to your text document. Or not next to your text document. Well, yeah, next to your text document. But wherever your script is, if you put a text document right next to it in the same folder, you can open that text document just by calling open and typing the name of the file with the extension. Once you've opened it, then you can call read. Now, I'm just typing out the variable name, type .read. That reads the entire file into a single string. So my notes is now a string that contains all of the data that was stored in notes.txt. And another option, you can actually use read lines. So if you wanted to, instead of having like your whole text document just read in as one giant string, maybe you want each line of text to be an item in a list. That can be really useful if you separate data in your file based on new lines. So, when you press that enter, like, hey, this is a new thing. Every time I press enter in my file, it's a new thing, right? Well, if you use read lines, every time that it sees a new line, it creates a new item in a list. So that can be pretty useful as well, reading that way. I encourage you to try creating a notes.txt file, putting in some text in there, maybe write a note to yourself. Put it next to your Python script, wherever your Python script is saved. And try this code and see what you're able to do. Try printing out my notes after you use .read here. All you'd have to do is type print my notes. I want you to try that. And you'll see you're able to actually read the file. And there's just something that really cool about that. I don't know. I just, when I do things like that, it kind of gets me excited. It's like, wow, like my code is now interacting with things around it, You're not just in this isolation of like, I wrote this code and it runs in this terminal and like it does math or it asks questions. Now you're stepping outside of your script, of your program, and you're getting one step closer to automating the boring stuff. You're so close because now you are stepping outside of your program and you're touching things around on your operating system. And we're going to keep doing that. We're going to go so far in this series. You're going to be reaching out and talking to computers all over the world with your program. So it's going to be really exciting. And this is the first step towards that. Now, alternatively, if you open the file normally, it's going to open in a read-only mode. What happens if you want to write to it? Well, all you have to do is when you call open, you provide a comma to give another parameter to the open function and type in quotes, put a W. That stands for write. Now, when you type in a W, you have to remember this. The W stands for write mode, but write mode overwrites anything that was in the file. So if you go to write into that file with your program, anything that was in there gets overwritten by whatever you write. If you want to append or add your contributions to the end of the file, then you use an A for append. And remember, like with read, you don't have to provide the R, but you could for a read. You could provide an R. Now let's say I opened it with append. You would never write both of these lines at the same time. I only wrote them here to show you. You would only need to open the file once. And let's say I opened it with the append mode, and then I write note_file.write, and just provide the text you want to write. It's really that simple. And just like that, this code would be written to the file. And when I'm done, I do notefile.close. Now, that's great and all, but let's look at how you could do this in the most efficient way. Now, this is how it's normally done. This is standard practice. I wanted you to know about the close function in case you ever need it. But generally speaking, what you'll do when you work with a file is you'll use the with statement. And what you say is you type out with, and then you, instead of assigning the return of open to a variable, you do something a little different. You're going to assign it to a variable, but in a different way. So you say with, and you say open notes.txt in append mode. So same thing. It's going to return that file object. But then we say as, and then I give it the variable name I want to create. So I think it kind of reads nicely. So with this thing as note file. So I want to reference it as note file. Okay. Then I can do everything like I was before. I can say notefile.write and do the same thing. And then once I break out of this scope, right, because I'm indented inside of the with block, it automatically closes the file for you. Really nice. So that's standard practice. So just to show you the other option, if you were going to maybe read, you could provide that R for read if you'd like, and then read the file. Same thing. When you're done, it automatically closes. And you're already getting a sneak peek of the shelve module. In the next video, we're going to actually dive in and look at how can I save variables in the files without having to manually figure out, like, okay, if I save this variable on this line and then read the file and kind of parse through it and add this, okay, that's this variable and assign this here. If you think about, like, how would you save variables in a file? It could be actually kind of complicated, right? Especially maybe like a list. Well, the shelve module makes that very easy. In the next video, we're going to be taking a look at that, and I am super excited to show you that as well. So I'll see you over there. Thanks.